delicious water. Get this man some Dasani.
That's like my the I can't remember where I heard it, but the joke of it's like a tagline for water. It's like, water, what your body needs to live.
Well, and some people tell me they don't like water, and I'm like, how? It tastes like
You're composed
basically
of this.
nothing.
I mean, I don't like myself either, but
Well, yeah. I understand where you're coming from.
and then there's like the people that are almost religious with water drinking.
Drink like a gallon and like they carry around a gallon jug of water. That's what Mr. used to do in middle school. I thought that was funny because I was like, dude, how do you have classes if you're drinking that much water? You're gonna have to like leave to pee every like 10 minutes.
New month, new top 10 or new podcast with Jake.
Yeah, sure.
Jake, you want to
Mostly
say
top
what we decided this month?
Today we are doing top 10 superheroes.
Top 10 favorite superheroes.
I thought heroes at first because I wanted to add stuff like Finn the Human, but then I was like, that'd be too broad of a category, and I had too much to explore with that.
Me and you have both been huge comic nerds for a long time.
Mhm.
I still have my first comic book in my collection, and it is beaten to shit. But it because I got in like the first grade.
Yeah.
If you look at look at how I treat my comics now, I'm like very careful with them and everything.
Yeah.
Versus how I was back then, where I was like put it in my book bag and it ends up getting crushed by something. But even then, I still love that one shredded up comic.
Even in 6th grade, when they told us to bring books to read, I brought the same Supergirl comic multiple days in a row,
Mm-hmm.
just because I didn't want to read anything else because I didn't like books as much as I like comics.
Now, granted, when we say superheroes, I didn't limit mine to just comic book characters. There are a few characters that are superheroes, but are...
I was thinking of that. I was thinking of people from My Hero and One Punch Man and different universes like that.
I thought about All Might making my list. I thought about him. I surprisingly, Saitama did not pop up.
I thought about all mine are comic characters.
Yeah, most of mine are. There's a few. I thought of things like I was trying to think. I want to come up with a few oddballs too. So I was thinking about the Tick or Freakazoid.
Yeah.
That era of cartoon stuff.
See, I love Hancock, but not enough to talk about him for 10 minutes.
Exactly. That's a good movie, though. I really like that movie.
That's one of the best twists in the superhero genre that we've seen in a long time.
It was kind of like The Boys, but before The Boys.
And now that I have Amazon, I'm going to watch it.
You need to watch The Boys.
Because especially
good show.
We talked about, it has Billy Joel in it.
The whole Billy Joel theme of it.
And I have to. It's a requirement now. Superheroes and Billy Joel.
Exactly. They use Billy Joel in the title cards. You instantly get a Jake view out of that. All right. You want to go first or should I?
You can go first.
Okay. My number 10. You know I'm a huge X-Men fan.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, only 2 X-Men made it on my list. Only 2. Because I was like, Magneto is too often a villain to put on this list.
Yeah.
But I do love Magneto. So.
I think. Okay, wait. Is this one of the main X-Men from the
yes.
cartoon? Okay.
If you think of the cartoon, you're going to think of, this character will come up.
Okay.
Both of these will.
Okay. I was thinking maybe you didn't.
If you think of the main roster of X-Men, my number 10. Well, technically no, because this character technically wasn't invented at the time. She technically was, but technically wasn't created when X-Men the animated series was around.
Okay, wait. Is it a version of another character?
It's a version of...
I know who it is.
It is?
X-23.
It is Wolverine, specifically X-23.
I was gonna... Oh my... That was my guess when I asked that question. I'm so happy.
So, if you're unfamiliar, X-23 is the clone daughter. She's a clone, but made out of they took the sperm of Wolverine and put it into the scientist. So
took some genetic matter and turned it into a human. Damian Wayne?
Kinda. But the reason I chose X-23 over Logan specifically is because when I think about the Wolverine, I think she is the Wolverine, and then James Howlett is Logan.
Okay.
So I almost have this weird disconnect where if I think of the 3-clawed, the guy,
Yeah.
the original Wolverine, I think of him more as Logan than I do as Wolverine.
Yeah.
Laura Kenny, my brain equivalates her to Wolverine to the name more.
I really hope we get to see more of her in movies, though.
I do too, especially with
after that sad ending.
after some recent developments in some Marvel stuff.
Yeah, it's like if you haven't watched some of our other stuff, then we're not gonna spoil it.
If you haven't seen our some commentaries we did, but I don't want to spoil anything out of that.
Because I know people. Who
I
haven't seen it
also
yet.
I always thought Laura's claws and everything, I thought they were cooler than Logan's.
Yeah.
Like I love the foot claw.
Yeah.
Like the one claw coming out of the foot.
Doesn't she have the 2 claws?
She
on
has
her
2
hands?
claws in her hands and then 1 in her foot.
Yeah.
Which, especially like how it's seen using her like Tom Taylor's run on which he is so good at just viciously murdering things.
That's Wolverine's aesthetic. It's just viciously
they're-
murdering.
Whoever Wolverine is, they have to be able to murder people.
Yeah.
And Laura is so good at that. Like, and if you like Logan, the movie, which is essentially Old Man Logan, but like not at all, not even remotely.
Yeah.
The way she's depicted in that, where she's a little bit younger, but she's just as violent. Like, she's spinning around people, slashing throats. Like, literally, the buildup in that movie is so good. Because before she even pops her claws or anything, she just walks out and they're building up to it. Like, walking in front of the bad guys. And then just rolls one of their heads towards them.
God.
And it's like, well, how did that happen? And then, of course, she pops the claws. And Logan starts putting it together. It's like, oh.
It's like that same animal viciousness you see in, like, the Wolverine origin comic book.
That's a really good book too. Like there's a few Logan based stories that I really enjoy. The origin thing, which was the story behind that is interesting because Wolverine for the longest time was a character with no origin. Like it was always a mystery until the movie came out.
Yeah.
And Marvel was like, well, shit. If we don't come up with the origin, Fox is gonna.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, you don't want that movie to be the only Wolverine origin.
Yeah. But to see him as, like, barely human, because usually we see him as just, like, a guy who can pop the claws out of his hand, but, like, seeing him as, like, sort of more animalistic, I think really just made a lot of sense for his powers and for him living as long as he did. I mean, had a long life.
Of course, I've talked about it before, but the X-Men Origins Wolverine, the game, is really good. I highly recommend that. Or, of course, like, when you think X-Men, Wolverine is one of the first characters to come up. Yeah. But I like Laura Kenny's adaptation of the character, the way she became the Wolverine, you know? All right, your number 10?
My number 10, and I was trying to decide on a specific person, like you said, for, like, X-23, but I don't know. I like, my number 10 is Green Lantern.
Okay, there's about 50.
I like Jon Stewart a lot, but Hal Jordan has some of the most, like, dramatic and some of the best Green Lantern storylines. But, like, you know, like, as me and you who grew up with Justice League Unlimited, we mostly saw
I equivalent Jon Stewart. Yeah.
But mostly the reason I picked Green Lantern wasn't even for the character. It was for all the things that surround Green Lantern. Because
the mythos of the Green Lanterns.
I have every lantern ring. Like, I just love because it makes so much sense to me that every color makes white, which is life. And if all the colors are gone, it's black, which is death. Because you need the rage and the love and the will.
You love
and
the emotional spectrum and everything behind the powers of the lanterns.
Yeah.
That's why I fucking hate the lanterns.
Really?
There are 2 DC groups I just can't stand.
Yeah.
And it's the Flash family and the Green Lantern groups.
Yeah.
Because
Flash family is
both have the issue for me of just they're overcomplicated for comic books.
Yeah.
Which is saying something.
Yeah.
Comics are already the most, like, insanely complicated medium and most difficult thing to get into unless you've just been in it for your entire life.
Yeah.
Let alone, like, I can't look I can't look at a Green Lantern story and not be at least somewhat confused.
Yeah. I love how
But
how the
I do
powers
love
connect.
the idea of the powers. I think my cat's trying to slowly emerge into
Yeah,
the room.
I saw someone touching the door. I was like, is somebody trying to listen in, or is that just an
No,
animal?
it's my cat. She'll see you and then
Aw.
run.
Oh,
Is she? Oh,
that was a cute
Scarlet.
aw and then a sad aw.
Scarlet. Oh, she's coming. Oh, she saw you and she is out of here.
No, she hasn't left yet. Come here.
This Green Lantern discussion is brought to you by my cat Scarlet.
I don't know if she's gonna leave. I hope she doesn't.
Maybe we'll see if she emerges in.
I'll just keep talking and maybe
All
she'll
right.
hear my voice and leave.
But
Anyway.
I have the same problem with the Flashes, where like when it comes down to like their stories and stuff, most of the time it's resolved with Barry runs faster
Yeah.
or one of the lanterns has more willpower.
That's the thing, is that there's no there's same thing for like characters like Superman. There's no like power scale. But I like the different powers that they use for each emotion that's connected with each lantern.
Yeah.
Like, you know, how there can only be one greed lantern, or how like rage sticks with you and completely changes the whole the whole composition of your body. Like it's
I will
really
say,
interesting to me.
one of my favorite Supergirl stories is Red Daughter of Krypton.
Yeah.
When she has a Red Lantern ring, and it is the coolest thing ever.
And it's also like how the compassion lanterns can take the powers of other lanterns because they feel what you feel, and how the hope lanterns can't do anything without the green lanterns because you can't have hope
Yeah.
without will. So it's really
The way
interesting how
they play
connect.
off each other is great.
And I like the stories where they work together instead of because the whole thing with Hal Jordan turning into Parallax and
That's a
destroying
thing.
Coast City and
Oh man.
all the stuff that went with that,
Or even
there's
if
a
like
lot.
you got to remember, it's like Kyle Rayner. Her one of his stories is now used as a term for a literary device
Oh, no,
of
the refrigerator.
the girlfriend in the fridge,
Ah,
because it was
sad
the
thing.
it was the thing of a female backup character, the girlfriend of the main character, just being
yeah,
like this device for the character.
yeah.
And like people refer to that story as like, you're just using this. She's not a character. She's a device,
Yeah,
which I hate.
I hate and love the way that they used Blackest Night, because you know me, I love the story of Blackest Night.
Yeah.
But they also used it to undo some of the stuff that was supposed to be done.
Yeah.
They used that White Lantern ending to bring back characters that were already dead, and yay, all
Much-
the deaths are erased.
Much like DC will always do. We gotta retcon some shit.
Like I love how they did it within the story, but then again, I know they only did it, at least end it like that, just to retcon all the deaths they didn't want to have, you know.
Mhm.
But I did like how the characters who had died before, who were alive, still got claimed as Black Lanterns because they had experienced death.
I love the ideas of the lanterns and the cores and everything. It's like, oh, the green. We got space cops.
Yeah,
Like that's just kind of awesome to me.
yeah. But it's just the complication.
The
of everything that
mythos
goes with
is
it.
so complicated
Yeah.
that I just could never get into it.
Yeah. I understand that. I can see that. I just, you know.
All right, should we move?
Yeah.
All right, we're up to my number 9. My number 9 is it's a bit of a weird choice. This was the one I texted you. It was like, this is gonna weird you out of why it makes my top 10.
I don't think I can guess this one.
You're not gonna. It's not a DC or Marvel character. It is a it's kind of a brand. So late 90s, early 2000s, I want to say, maybe even earlier.
It's the Skechers Heroes.
No, I remember those. When they used to package like these weird comics with Skechers sneakers.
That's the only reason I got the sneakers, was to get the comics.
I wonder if those are worth anything, because I know I have at least one or two
Yeah,
of
I've
them.
got a couple. I kept them.
Because they gotta have been like a limited print thing.
Dude, I'm gonna look online.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
want to
gonna look
sell
at
them
that
though. I
too.
feel bad.
My number 9 is the Japanese mascot for Pepsi. Pepsi Man.
What? What?
This is the perfect example for me of like, I love stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I find allowing yourself to be stupid
Yeah.
to just be the like most genuinely fun thing.
Yeah.
It's like the reasons I'm friends with you or I'm friends with Matt. It's like I'm allowed to be stupid with you guys, and you're allowed to be stupid with me.
I love acting stupid. It's my favorite thing.
And when you have a character like Pepsi Man,
yeah,
who had a PS1 game where he's gonna run through the desert to deliver Pepsi to a
Pepsi Man.
that will deliver Pepsi to a stranded truck, not helping them in any like way or form.
Yeah,
just
can't fix the truck, but here's some Pepsi.
Here's some Pepsi. You'll die of dehydration quicker. This goes back to our water conversation.
You're right. I did not at all. I would have never guessed that.
You've not in a million years, but I love. It is the perfect mascot because he's just so stupid, and he shoots Pepsi. And by the way, I hate Pepsi. I don't drink sodas.
Yeah.
I very rarely, and like even when I do, it's like, it's not Coke or Pepsi or like, I'm a tea person and a coffee person, but I just love that ad campaign, and the PS1 game is just an endless runner where you're delivering Pepsi to people in like these Crash Bandicoot style chase scenes.
Yeah.
And there's this amazing theme song where it's just on loop. It's like a 30-second loop where it's just Pepsi Man.
I feel like I saw like a YouTube video on that.
You definitely have, because it's one of those things that are so stupid. Like people have made YouTube videos about it because it's so weird. And like there's live action cutscenes with like this American dude.
That's what I saw. I think I saw like someone like JonTron watching like the gameplay and the cutscenes and just like making jokes about it.
It's hilarious. I highly recommend Pepsi Man.
I want a Pepsi Man morph suit. Now that you said that, I'm just thinking.
Oh yeah, and he's completely chrome. Like there were actually, I think there were like 3 or 4 different outfits for Pepsi Man that were all different based on the different forms of Pepsi that were out at the time.
That's actually pretty cool. Oh, it's like I gotta see how much
this podcast is not brought to you by Pepsi.
Yeah, they would sponsor us if we begged them to.
This podcast, I will fully endorse. Drink water. Pepsi's pretty gross.
But no, what? Okay, wait, I found it. Oh my gosh, it's upwards of like $50 for a good one. The chrome looking one is actually less expensive than like the regularly colored one, which is weird. But I would want the one that looks like it's chrome.
But I just find it hilarious. Oh my gosh. Can we do... Oh, we should go to a con when those come back.
Yes.
We should go to a con dressed as Pepsi Man and just run through the halls.
First like con near here that I get the chance to go to, I'm going to. Especially if it's like something like Dragon Con in Atlanta, or if they finally have another Heroes and Villains fan fest. I'm going.
Oh my gosh.
Especially to meet celebrities in person again, which I didn't think I would miss because I barely got to do it in the first place.
So much because you know how much I go crazy with costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of Pepsi Man. What's your number 9?
So this is
By the way, not the stupidest character on my list.
Oh my gosh. I literally have no clue what your next stupidest character could be, but
it might. It really depends depends on your taste, I guess.
I'll probably like it. But my next choice is completely serious. It's Martian Manhunter.
Martian Manhunter almost made my list.
And it's just because like I chose him with multiple different like criteria in mind.
Mm-hmm.
One being powers, one being backstory, one being like morals. And Martian Manhunter checks that whole list.
He checks all of those.
Because I love the last son of Mars and like the revolution they had thing. I love his powers. I think he has like some of the coolest powers in the entire Justice League because he's so OP.
He is on par with Superman in terms of strength and the only thing I say one of the greatest things that can really make a character. I'm so glad he's on your list because I wanted to talk about him.
Yeah.
He has 2 things that I love out of character. One, his backstory. It's depressing. You get fully why this character is as humble and as fight for justice as he does. He is a hero because he's seen tragedy.
And even the hate that he has for the white Martians, we get to see him overcome that. In I mean, they had another Megan storyline in Supergirl, but I would talk about the one in Young Justice mostly.
Yeah.
That's where like to
The-
see him still love someone just because
His
they're not,
origin has varied.
it's amazing.
His origin has varied in certain aspects based on the media, whether it's Supergirl, Young Justice, or the comic. But
Yeah.
normally, when it comes down to it, is that there was a successful genocide of his people,
Yeah.
and because of that, he's a space cop.
Yeah.
Because of that, he now fights for others as well as himself.
Yeah.
And also, the other thing that I think can make a good character, if you're struggling for writing a character or anything, don't just write their strength, write their weaknesses.
Yes.
And Martian Manhunter has, not only does he have his character flaws of like, yeah, he can get caught up in hatred for, or he could like lose himself some, but he also has a weakness I think is way more interesting than kryptonite.
Yeah.
Fire.
It's just like the simplest possible
Exactly.
weakness.
It's simple. It makes sense. Like it does. You know what else is weak to fire? Most things. But like, I think when you have this thing that's like, Superman's not gonna come across kryptonite like walking to the grocery store.
yeah.
You know.
But he sees it everywhere. I mean, he's come to a planet where it's like one of the most destructive forces.
Yeah. Never go to Apocalypse.
Oh my gosh, he couldn't survive there. He'd die automatically.
I love the idea of something so simple. And then this goes into like a mental weakness. Sometimes it is simply he will die very quickly. Like he
Yeah.
has no immunity to fire.
Yeah.
But other times it's a fear,
Yeah.
which I think is almost even more interesting.
Yeah.
Because if you give that character that fear, it is then something that they have to overcome.
Mhm.
And when they overcome that, you're creating a situation for the story to just get better and better.
And like you said, like a very, very simple weakness for some of my favorite powers. I mean, like think about how useful his powers, not in just like personal fighting, but in the team setting. He connects the Justice League through he can like let them talk to each other through his mental connection. He can read minds. He can shapeshift, intangibility, flight. Like he's got some of my
He's like
favorite
9
power sets.
superheroes maxed up. He's like Professor X, Plastic Man, Superman, all in
A
one.
better Beast Boy.
He's all of those characters in one.
Yeah. I just love, and I love his weird like love of Oreo cookies, or whatever
Yeah.
you call him in the DC universe. But
They're Oreos.
like he's such a cool character to me, both in morals and powers, and you know.
All right.
All right, number 8.
Number 8 is my second X-Men. This one actually was in the cartoon. Well, kinda. He's in jail for the first season.
Okay, I was about to guess a girl, so I'm gonna let you say it.
My number 8 is Beast.
Okay.
I like Beast for a couple of reasons. You're gonna see a pattern with the characters I enjoy, that they're characters with a really good backstory or really good mental anguish that they'll go through even beyond physical. And Beast's whole story is a story about like body dysmorphia and learning to love yourself and stuff like that. Beast wasn't always this giant blue monster. Even whether you look at like how they treat him in First Class, or if you look at his original comic stuff, Beast used to just be a big dude with hands for feet.
Yeah.
And it was his own unwillingness to accept his gift and trying to find a cure for himself, for something that he hated about himself.
Yeah.
That eventually led him to try to cure himself and making his mutation way worse.
Yeah.
It was no longer anything he could hide. It was something that it is out there. You look at Beast, he can't like walk around and not, he is Beast.
Yeah.
That's why I hate in some of the other X-Men films where they're like, yeah, no, I got, I think it's like Apocalypse or something where they're like, no, I learned how to control the beast. I'm like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
That completely undoes what this character is supposed to be. He can't hide it, and he had to learn
Yeah.
to accept himself and love himself as a character, which
Yeah.
is something that, like, I think we can all learn from. I think I specifically can also learn from it. There were times in my life I didn't always like how I looked or how I was perceived. But there is a point where it's like, yes, you should always work to better and better yourself. But there's also a point where you just have to learn to accept and love yourself more.
Yeah.
And I think Beast is great for that reason.
I think if he, because like you say, you should always want to better yourself, but I mean that comes with self-love to me.
Yeah.
Like you have to love yourself before you can really want the best for yourself. And that comes with like weight loss, or it comes with learning to be okay with what you look like. And it's like, in this world, there are so many options with ways we can change the way we look or the way we are, but honestly, it's easier, and it makes you happier if you actually fight through it and learn to just be who you are and love who you are. And I think that's a really good
Love
really good
yourself.
lesson to take it from.
And I think beyond all of that, which is why I think is the core of the character, I also just like the thought process of like, if you there's a book called Previously on X-Men, where it goes into the history and the creation of X-Men the animated series, which is one of the greatest cartoons ever made. I put it up there with the original Looney Tunes or Animaniac or Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest pieces of animated content ever, and I put X-Men right up there with it all.
Yeah.
In that book, they go into how Beast was one of their favorite characters to write for. Because not only is he this big blue character that, like, as a kid, you love it. You love him. He's so cool. But also he's intelligent.
Yeah.
So, I love the visual of him hanging from the ceiling reading a book.
Yeah.
It's like that's the stuff where it's like he's quoting poetry, like, while fighting people.
Yeah.
I love that stuff where it's like, because it takes this character who you're like, you think he's one thing, and he's the exact opposite. It takes everything about the prejudice you would attribute to a character like that, and completely turns it on its head. And when you're writing for characters like the X-Men, who are, if this was my favorite superhero teams, the X-Men would be at the top of that list. Yeah. The X-Men are these group of people who were exercised, who were treated poorly. The people I think it was a joke, but X-Men or Deadpool 2 said it best. It was like, X-Men coming through, outdated allegory for racism in the 40s coming through. It's like, yes, that's what they were. They were this allegory for very real prejudices, for very real things that happen to people. If you read stories like God Loves, Man Kills, which is one of the greatest comic books ever, there are literal hate crimes happening against children in that book because they were mutants.
Yeah.
And the allegory of mutants, I think everything the X-Men stand for, and the allegories and the what their stories try to portray, I think Beast is the perfect encapsulation of all of it.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
And I love the X-Men. I love them so much. And I love Beast. I love Wolverine. I love Storm. Mm-hmm. I love all the X-Men. And putting them higher up would be really cool. I should have, but there were just some characters I couldn't overlook.
Yeah.
All right. You're number 8.
My number 8, and I wish I could have put him higher on the list, but I haven't read enough about him, and I just love the idea of this character. It's Iron Man.
Okay. Iron Man was on my list.
But wait, you want to wait to talk about him when you get him?
Let's he's higher on my list, and that's normally how we've been doing this.
Yeah, we can just wait.
He's my number 6. So I've got one more, and then you got one more, and then we can talk about it, or we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
So why don't you go ahead and do your number 7 then, and then since I just went on about X-Men.
My number 7 is one that you're definitely gonna want to talk about. It's Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man's also higher on my list. Damn it. This is the problem with these lists and the way we do this show.
That's what I told you on the phone. Is like so many of my characters are so basic, but it's because these heroes are iconic for a reason.
Yeah,
And I just love
they're heroes for a reason.
Yeah.
They're the modern day Greek mythologies. They're the characters that we can somehow relate to.
Yeah.
And we'll get more into that with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So
Spider-Man is one of the most. I mean, he was meant to be related to, so I think
exactly. We'll get to that stuff.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Do you want to just go ahead and do your number 7?
I'll do my number 7 so we can talk about Iron Man. Okay, my number 7 is not a comic book character. He's another weird character, but a character I love deeply.
Yeah.
The master of the universe himself, He-Man.
That's okay. No, I wouldn't say that's too weird. I wouldn't think of him as a superhero, but I like him a lot. So
he has man in the name.
That's true. I didn't. I was like, is that all you really need? Superman, Batman.
Exactly. This was another example of like I love stupid stuff, but also He-Man is one of those things that like meshed all of these cool. They just, if you don't know the creation of the character of He-Man or She-Ra, they were these characters that in the 80s. A toy company sat down with an animation studio. Was like, we have these 3 toys. It's a soldier, a barbarian, and an astronaut. Make a show out of one of these toys so that we can sell them.
Yeah.
And they chose the barbarian, and that's how He-Man was created. The toys came first, and then they wrote a show around that, which is why older He-Man stuff is weird. Yeah. It doesn't give a fuck. They just were like, cool stuff, go.
Yeah.
Which there's a art to that too. As much as I was talking about like the importance of writing with characters like the X-Men, there is a time for stupid. Yeah. There's the time for your Pepsi Mans. There's some times for He-Man and what they were, which is like, here's some cool stuff, go and just enjoy yourself.
As a guy who has a whole room in his house dedicated to nerd stuff, and one of the most specifically He-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you mean. We have like a huge model of Castle Grayskull and probably most of the figures. Stepdad loves He-Man.
He-Man is great, and if you go, see, by the time this come out, it'll probably was happening. But I am in the process of finishing up She-Ra, Princess of Power. And once that's done, I'm definitely doing a review of it because that show is good. That show's real good. I think me and you were going to do a commentary track for the first 2 episodes or something.
Yeah.
But She-Ra is a great example of like a little bit more serious in tone, and it somehow took these weird this cool stuff and made a dramatic story out of it, which is cool.
Yeah.
But old school He-Man, there was no rules. There was no like we have to obey these things, like the magic system of our world.
Yeah.
Or like there was fantasy, there was sci-fi, there was Cringer is literally a half dragon, half cat, or half tiger.
Yeah.
Which is the coolest thing I could imagine.
Yeah.
So, as much as important as it is to have well-developed or cool characters, sometimes it's just as important to just have fun.
It's weird to me that our generation, when they see He-Man, mostly
they think of the
a song that he literally has nothing to do with other than that weird video someone made.
I'm gonna put on my fedora here. That was Prince Adam because he had not transformed into He-Man.
You're right. Well, he had the pink shirt and everything.
Which is, if you look at, that's the other thing. It's like, if you look at why that was the case, it's like, the reason Prince Adam and He-Man were so similar looking, even though they are different.
Yeah.
It was just so that they could use the same model for the toy, then just paint it different. Like,
yeah.
Like, it was all those cut corners of the 80s and stuff, and Skeletor.
Yeah. That was, it's weird to me, that I was watching a Watch Mojo video the other day, and it was like about weirdly sexualized or weirdly like attractive characters,
mm-hmm.
and Skeletor was on the list.
Why?
I understand that he's ripped, but did anyone really look at Skeletor and say, "Oh yeah, that's what I find attractive"? Like, I don't think so.
I mean, he's essentially like a leather bar. Like he's.
Like, I think I understand the body, but the face, like, there's no way that you could look at that and say, like, yeah, like Lola Bunny was on that list. How do you put Skeletor beside Lola Bunny? In I don't know.
I mean, in that same vein, it's like that's the era of like Jessica Rabbit and stuff.
Yeah, which she was not on that list, but Skeletor was. Which
But
is
Skeletor.
I don't.
This is a weird
don't
list.
understand.
I would like to get away from this topic.
Is Skeletor attractive? Find out.
What is your number 7?
My number 7. Wait, it's Spider-Man.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, my number 6 is a
Number
different character. You
Your
might
number
not have on
6,
your
yeah.
list.
Your number 6.
My number 6 is Wonder Woman.
Okay, Wonder Woman did not make my list.
I just like I tried to also measure it in like people and characters that I've read the most and seen the most of.
Mm-hmm.
And Wonder Woman made my list simply because of the cartoons and because
Justice
my
League
mom's a big fan of
Unlimited
Wonder Woman and
did
just-
so much for like me and you specifically.
and it was so like it painted such a good picture of the DC universe. Like
Mhm.
it wasn't just like it wasn't really simplified. Like they touched on most everything, most all the different planets and different characters, and they really like introduced our generation to all those characters. That's why I still love that show, and I wish I could watch it whenever I want, but there's nowhere to watch it on. I took it off Netflix a while ago.
It's on HBO Max.
Another reason to buy HBO Max.
Exactly.
Including Space Jam 2, which is coming out.
Yeah, there you go. You can over-sexualize Lola Bunny all you want with that.
Speaking of, did you know that Paramount Plus is actually just CBS All Access?
Is it really? They just
Like,
rebranded it.
They're just like changing
The
it
Super,
into that.
for reference, the Super Bowl happened like a few days ago for us, and we were making fun of the Paramount ads because we were like, they are gonna get sued by Disney because
They are
those
still-
logos are the same.
They're still doing more and more ads for that. They're still releasing them. I watch them on like YouTube, and I'm like, guys, you have Dora, you have news. I don't know.
I don't know what they.
I don't
own.
have the money for your program. I'm only gonna buy CBS All Access just to watch The Stand, and then I'll probably be like, okay, that's all. But anyways, back to superheroes.
What were we
Wonder
talking
Woman.
about? Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. I love the weird way that DC Comics did because, Marvel has all these different godlike characters like
Mhm.
Thor, and they do the Norse stuff. Somehow DC mixed Christianity with Greek mythology.
They just mixed all of the mythologies: Roman, Greek,
Because, like,
Christian, Judaism.
The
all
Spectre is God, like a form of God, like the Christian or whatever whatever you want
they
to say.
just kind of took everything and just melded into one thing.
But I was
Marvel
like, does
kind
that
of did the
mean-
same thing with like the one above all and everything.
Yeah.
But like, what I love about Diana is like that there's the Trinity.
Yeah.
The three pinnacles of DC: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. They all stand for different things.
Yeah.
Superman is truth and justice. Batman is vengeance. He is the knight.
Yeah.
And then Wonder Woman, who is just like, we will just fight until
Like,
the bitter end.
Love and hope and
Love
'cause
and
I believe she was a love lantern during Blackest Night because
was she?
all these different superheroes got lantern rings. So I think that's like literally the one that she got.
Her
Flash
whole
got
thing is
hope
just
and-
like, I will fight for my friends until the bitter end.
Yeah.
Until I will I think it was the movie. I don't think it's actually in Tower of Babel, but the Agamemnon contingency movie.
Yeah.
Doom or something. I can't remember which movie
I
it is.
think it is Doom
One of the Justice League movies,
because War
animated
had
movies.
Dark Side. So I think it is Doom. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
Right.
Batman whole plan in that movie was like, listen, I'm gonna hit her with like fear gas or something, and make sure she sees an enemy who is her equal, and eventually she'll just die of a heart attack because she'll never stop fighting.
Yeah. And I love that because like, all these superheroes have either powers or tech, but then they did like that. That's also what the Trinity represents for me is metahumans,
Mhm.
vigilantes, and then like magic, and of course like the warriors. But she also represents magic because
Well, she is on Justice League Dark.
so like that's really, I just love how She's mostly pictured with like either fighting straight with her fists or with a sword.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just love that they added in like someone who just has this raw physical power, doesn't even need the freeze breath or the heat vision, just because she could probably beat Superman in a fight in the right
In a
the right
skilled
situation.
fight, yeah, I would absolutely say that.
So I just love having like the strongest and most skilled fighter being someone as cool as Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always loved Wonder Woman because I'm also a big DC fan, like you said, the Trinity. But you know, I love the different element because she's not a superhero in the traditional sense, but she still holds her own with people with these amazing powers.
She's also this great symbol of feminism, and I love that everyone. What I love about comics is that everyone has a superhero that they can relate to the most.
Yeah.
Everyone should have a character for them.
Yeah.
A character that you can look at and like they mean just as much to you as like what a character might mean to me or to someone else.
That's also why it kind of irks me in different media where they take characters and they change like the core of what makes them.
You can tweak a character, but you have to remain the core of what that character is.
I believe if you want to make something for someone else who needs a symbol, that's awesome. But taking another character and recycling them and changing them isn't the right way to do it. I believe we should have new characters.
Yeah,
because if people want representation, they deserve more than just some old character because that's just going to cause fights between people and
make a new character.
Yeah, just make new characters. We have plenty of room for that.
Now, granted, there are times
stories
that
and
there have been changes to characters, and it was actually for the better. Like like when Iceman came out.
Yeah.
Or when or if you want to just remove like that from the equation, like when Superman and Injustice, you did completely change what the character stood for.
Yeah.
But you did it in such a way that it made sense why he became that.
Exactly. It's not just a change that they just do for the heck of it or they just do because they were pushed into it. I believe that if you're going to do that or if you're doing it for representation purposes, then you should just make a new character because it means enough to go out of your way to create a new character.
Mm-hmm.
That's my belief, and I don't like seeing the infighting between different fandoms.
No,
when they change stuff
comics
like that.
should be for everyone.
Yeah,
you know
exactly. But I don't know why I came up with that with Wonder Woman because there's a new Wonder Woman character out, but it's not Diana, so it's like
there's
really
a couple with Future State. Like, jeez, there's like 3 Wonder Women right now or something like that.
I just know about the new CW series they're putting out. I
Oh,
don't
are
know
they?
if it's Wonder Girl or if it's gonna be a Wonder Woman series, but it's not called either. It's the name of the character, but she didn't have any comics yet. I don't think so. I don't think.
Okay, so it might be a new.
But it'll be interesting.
All right, where are we at? Is it my number 6 now?
Canaries, but they picked up that show, so it's fine. Yeah.
My number 6 was Iron Man.
Okay, so now we can.
So now we can
Cool.
both talk about Iron Man. I think Iron Man means a lot to both me and you because of the age we were when the movie came out.
Yeah.
I think as much as I love movies, I think Iron Man sparked a chapter of cinema that should not be looked over.
Like, The Dark Knight and Iron Man were two of the first action figures that I remember having and that I actually passed on to my little brother, and he still has. So like I just love looking back. I
still have a
at
Dark
how
Knight
big those
action figure
characters were.
and the Tumbler. That thing is so cool.
Oh, okay.
I know
that was one of my favorite Batmobiles.
I still have that toy. I know exactly where it is.
I was about to say moving on to Batman, but Iron Man.
There were multiple chapters of that.
Yeah.
There was because for the longest time superhero movies were looked at as like Superman, Richard Donner, or Kevin Conroy Batman, like that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah.
Good, but a little hokey. And then Blade, Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and one other movie around that time came out and really started to pique people's interest of what superhero movies could be.
I'm trying to think what other superhero.
There was
movie
one
came out
other in
at
the
that
early
time.
2000s. I don't remember.
Did Dark Knight come out before or after Iron Man?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think it was after.
Yeah, I think it would have been after. Same year, I think. They were both 2008, I think.
Yeah, because like I said, I got
It might have
I
been
got those
2009.
figures like around the same time, and I've had them forever.
That first comic book I told you about was a promotional comic book for Iron Man.
Yeah.
And Tony Stark as a character, he is the preparer. He prepares for everything. He's like Batman in that sense, but he also like struggles with things like alcoholism or PTSD.
Yeah.
But he was also this character. He was also one of these characters where you can look at him and be like, for all his faults, he's still a cool guy.
Yeah.
And I still like this character. He was never douchey to the point of being unlikable.
Yeah. I also love the inspiration that comes with a character like Iron Man, because he literally took his company, whether it be comics or movie, I mean either way, he took his company and he just tried to use his tech and his abilities of like actually stuff that we can do in real life, just building and creating to help people. And I think that that's a page that a lot of companies can take.
And here's the thing, it wasn't one of the greatest things, like he didn't do that initially. Initially it's like he realized it's like, oh, my weapons are being used for terrible things.
Yeah.
And now I have to right this wrong. And
it's sad that like if we're going to at least what I know about the movie, it's sad that it took him being hurt by his own missile to get him to see what he was doing was wrong. But to get him to actually help people as he did with Iron Man, that wasn't because he got hurt. That was when he saw the news and saw people being hurt by his. When he saw other people in trouble.
He saw
he
firsthand
to act.
He suffered from the hand of his own destruction.
Yeah,
it's like if he saw firsthand what he was causing, and that caused a character change.
Yeah, which caused him to change the company, which was a really big move. But then him actually building his suit and then going and flying it out and helping people with it, that I think came from a very unselfish place at first, and then it came into the kind of ego thing. But I mean, he's still helping people.
I think he puts on the facade of that guy he was before still, but he has changed and does care now.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, everything we're talking about here, this is movie Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man the comics, kind of a dick still.
Yeah.
There was that time.
Not Reed Richards level of smart dick, but.
Oh, no. He's like Reed Richards light, where it's like you're a dick, but like you're like, it's hard to overlook like becoming the dictator of San Francisco and then giving Daredevil the ability to see just to take it away again. That's the kind of stuff that's like, comic book Iron Man is different. He is still a dick at times, but like the same thing happened where he suffered from the hand of his own destruction, and that made him change. But the tactics in which he uses, they differ a little bit.
Yeah.
But the character they use for the movie and stuff is like, I think the best portrayal of what that character could be.
Yeah. And I was kind of explaining to my brother as we were watching, because I'm showing him all the Marvel movies. He wanted to just watch, because like I said, I gave him my figures, and then I find out he doesn't even know Spider-Man or Iron Man, or like he's never seen Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm like, why do you have all this stuff if you're not going to watch it? So I'm making him watch all the Marvel movies with me. He doesn't want to. He just wants to watch what he needs to get his figures back. But I'm like, no, you have to watch Thor, and then we have to watch Captain America, and then Avengers. And I was like, we're doing it in order so you can watch Infinity War, which he doesn't want to watch, and he's never seen it.
Dude, it's such.
And I was like, my favorite moments are in Infinity War. Like, you have to watch it. You have no choice.
I think it's a sign of like, it's one of those things where it's like what these characters mean to us. It's like it's such a significant chapter.
Yeah.
Of cinema in our lives and everything, but like what's the next one gonna be for someone else, or will this translate to further generations and stuff?
I'm making him catch up, because what he does is he doesn't like things until he sees them, and then he loves them. Like same thing with Iron Man, he didn't want to watch it at first, and we watched the first one and he was ready to watch the second one. He wanted to watch it.
Okay.
But then when I was like Thor, he was like, I don't want to watch Thor, and I was like, You don't have a
Thor.
choice. I was like, we're not watching Guardians or Captain America until we watch Thor.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to watch it or just not earn Captain America or Spider-Man.
It makes me wonder: is the MCU going to become like Star Wars? Well, it's going to be here for a long time, and this is
Yeah.
going to be multiple generations of people loving this.
Yeah.
Or is this going to be like Citizen Kane, where it's like this was a significant chapter of cinema? This is a turning point for how movies were done.
Yeah.
But it's going to be one of those things where it's like, yeah, we recognize it, but like, has anyone really actually seen Iron Man?
I
like
I want to
Citizen
grow
Kane.
him up so he knows how good they are. Like
I know.
now that he's watching, he's starting to understand. But
He's starting to get it.
he like I was showing him clips from Guardians earlier just because like I love that movie so much, and he was laughing at like the Peter Quill moments, and I was like, see, this is the kind of moments that are in every one of these Marvel movies. But going back to Iron Man, like I was explaining to him that yes, Tony Stark was helping people, but the way he acts in the beginning of the second movie, how he's like kind of being really arrogant, like I privatized world peace. I was like he's getting a lot of satisfaction, and it's a little bit selfish, but it's wholly saving people and helping people is not.
I think it's all part of the facade. Like he's keeping up that persona he had beforehand,
Yeah.
but also it's like at the core of his character,
Yeah.
he cares and he's just trying to do the right thing.
It's like, to me, for whatever reason you help people, whether you're doing it for even like a publicity stunt with like real people and real celebrities, how they do it, no matter what reason you're doing it, you're still doing it, and there's still value in that. And
Yeah.
I think that we're too ready to cut people down because they're not doing it for the right reasons. But honestly, there doesn't have to be a right reason to help people.
Yeah.
In my
You
eyes,
could
at least.
just do it for like the shitty reason, but like it's tough because like I wouldn't feel comfortable doing things like for that reasoning, but like if someone else did it, it's like, you know what, at least they did something,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know. All right,
So we're at
What if-
number.
I have no idea.
We just did my number 6 before we did your number.
My number 6
7.
was Iron Man, so it's your number 5 now, or your number?
Wait, where is Spider-Man like really high up in your list?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, it's my number 5.
Okay.
Another Marvel character, Captain America.
Okay.
I freaking love Captain America. I mean, ever since I watched, I guess it was Infinity War, seeing
Mhm.
him stand up beside the other heroes and be able to fight just as well and just as hard, but being a regular man, like basically peak human.
Mm-hmm.
I just love, even without the tech, because he didn't need to be a genius. He just loved his country and loved the people around him, and that's why he got to where he was.
He stands for a lot of the same things as like Wonder Woman and Superman, where
Yeah.
it's like truth, justice, the American way, and also let's fight until the bloody, gory end.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons
Of cour-
that I
it's-
love Captain America is just because he was, even before he had his powers, he was still a fighter and he still wanted to help people.
And that's consistent between comics, movies, video game, or TV shows or whatever.
Yeah,
It's always Captain America is the what's it called when you're like the gold standard.
I was gonna say like the epitome of.
He's the gold
this.
standard. Him and Superman are the gold standards of hero.
Yeah,
You know, it's like they just do the right thing because it is the right thing, because
Yeah.
it's good. It's all summed up in that one phrase that they repeat throughout the MCU. It's like he's getting his ass handed to him, but still he gets up and it's like, I can do this all day.
yeah,
Like even before he got his powers,
Yeah.
even before all of that, even without the shield,
yeah,
even if he's not exactly viewed in the best light, it doesn't matter. He's
Yeah.
just gonna do the right thing.
like seeing how badly he wanted to fight for his country and fight with like the people that were even stronger than him and even braver than him. Just like it really should inspire anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he's fighting for something that he really, really believes in every single time that he fights.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I love the patriotism because I love our country. But even if you don't like get on that train. I mean, Captain America still fought for the world and
Yeah.
still fought
Even
for
he is not just
his fellow
Captain
man.
America. He is something like, even if you're critical of what, it doesn't matter. It's not even a patriot thing or whatever about. It's like I have a ton of criticisms of the U.S. government, but still, I still can look at Steve Rogers and be like, that is what we should, as a country, that's what America should be aspiring to be. It should be Steve Rogers.
That's exactly why he is Captain America, because that's what America's ideal should be, to be the like light and to be the,
and whether or not we've strayed from that, he is still he is the American dream. He is the what it should be. Yeah. Whether or not it's not that, but
that is the one of the sole reasons that I love him. Not only, I mean, he also inspires me because he is just human. Yeah. But I mean, it's also because he's also an allegory for America at that time, like in World War II. But like I said, past that, he stands for what America always should be, and we should always remember like that ideal.
It's what we should aspire to be, even though we have strayed from it and we are not that, or you can argue we've never been that as a country. It's Captain America, Steve Rogers, the man at a time should be what we as a country aspire to be.
Well, to me, it's also like you said, he's an allegory for how America was in World War II, because he wasn't as like, he was kind of weak until it came to the time to fight, and the fighting spirit and the war is really what buffed him up.
And he was going to fight whether or not he was the buff dude or not.
Yeah. And like, I believe that America is a good country as a whole. I know we've done terrible things in the past, and I'd stand on this till I die. I
could argue we've done terrible things in the past week.
We've done terrible things just like every day
for
the past like 200 years
since the day since Christopher Columbus sailed down and ended up in like Cuba. He landed in Cuba, didn't he?
He landed. I thought he landed in like Canada at first. Like
something.
Like all these explorers landed along this coast.
He started chopping off the hands of the people that were actually here.
Like, I've always
as terrible as every terrible thing that has happened. Yeah. Captain America symbolizes what should be. Yeah. Not what is. Yeah. You know?
And like you said, like, it's like, I think what the country and what Captain America stands for, it's not more important than what we've done, but it's still extremely important.
Yeah. It's like if you go full nihilist and just accept that we're awful, we'll never improve. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah. We should strive to be better. And that's what Cap always was. Yeah. He always was striving to become better. Yeah. All right. My number 5, I think. 5 or... Yep. Yeah. All right. My number 5. The Outlaw from Space. Star-Lord.
I really want him to be on my list.
Star-Lord, I think, Guardians came out at a point where it was like I was really searching myself and trying to find out like who I wanted to become and like what made me happy and what did I want to do. And then I saw Guardians and I saw Guardians 2 later and I was like, "Oh, I can just be carefree." Yeah. And, you know, it's like Peter Quill is just like, he is a character. And here's the thing. This is another example of, there was a shift with Star-Lord. He was not always the Chris Pratt character from the movies. Yeah. If you look at Star-Lord pre that movie and what the Guardians were, they were a D-list team no one gave a shit about. Yeah. And then that movie came out, and they've been revamped. And I think it was for the better. I think the newer Guardians team is a much better idea, a much better team.
The version of Star-Lord that the Chris Pratt character created is the reason that I want him on my list. Not because of... That was the reason he didn't make it. Not what
Star-Lord was before. No one cares. No one could tell you.
It's like I didn't read enough, and I didn't know enough about Star-Lord before that movie to put
him on my list.
He was
Captain Kirk. Oh. That's it. He was essentially Captain Kirk.
Yeah, he definitely would have made it at that point. But just like, exactly. I just love I love the
even
team
amidst
dynamic, but
Star Trek, ooh, Star Trek fans.
I was gonna say make a lot of people angry.
Yeah, even amidst Star Trek fans, they now most people are like Picard, not Kirk.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's like I love the way like that. That's why I tell you all the time I love Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
But I love what he brought to that character, and it's like every single moment that the movie or that I've seen with that character, even in the cartoons that I've seen on Disney Plus, like it's he's a good leader, but not how we usually picture a good leader.
But he's not a ha-hoo, like, what is it good for type leader.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the military. He's the kind of guy, it's like, you respect him. He's a good leader for the team, but because that he can rally them in a way that I don't see a lot of other characters rally their teams. Normally, it's like the aspiring. It's the end of Pacific Rim, and it's the we are canceling the apocalypse speech. Yeah. It's never that. It's normally like Peter Quill rallies his team under just goodwill and being like, you know what? It's like, it's not a line he said, but it's the line that I think sums it up best from the Guardians movie, where it's like, Peter like does give a speech or whatever, and it's not like a grandiose, like great, inspiring speech. It's more of a speech of like, at least we can try something.
Showtime, assholes.
Yeah, and then Rocket just like they all stand up, and then Rocket's finally just like, well, now I'm standing up. A bunch of assholes standing in a circle.
If you want a perfect picture of like why Star-Lord is a good leader or what kind of leader he is, like compare the end of Guardians 2 where everyone's freaking out like, where's Quill? Where's Quill? You know, versus like Infinity War where they're just like roasting him when Thor gets on the ship. Like they don't respect him to the point of like they need his approval and
he's
they
not
want,
a general.
But he's just a good dude.
He's the type of dude that like he would spearhead a pub crawl.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Like
that's the kind of leader that I want.
He's just fun. It's like you follow him because you know that at least it's going to be a fun adventure.
Yeah.
And it's like he's the definition of like dance like no one's watching, or like, and I love that energy of just like listen to your music, jam out, have some fun.
And he's willing to try anything to win. Like end of the first movie, dance contest, bro. Just me and you. And he just starts
dance
dancing.
contest, bro. I know we've talked so much about movies and less about comics here, but like that movie is like the version of Peter Quill that I like the most.
Yeah, and I'll be able to talk more about comics with my.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that
top
more and more stuff later on.
Yeah.
All right. Enough Star-Lord. What's your number 5 or your number 4?
Number 4.
Your number 4.
And this was a character that I sort of considered putting lower.
Okay.
But we've talked about him before, and I'll still hold up. He's one of my favorites. It's Superman.
Superman. Okay. Superman did not make my list.
And I think that I've talked to you many times about why Superman is my favorite. It's because of the human in him more than the Kryptonian.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, he has awesome powers, and you can barely put a power scale on him. Like, that's the complaints that I've heard from people, is that he's too OP, and that, like, why is it interesting to watch this super strong guy?
They're not wrong.
And, like, that's a valid criticism, but most of the stories that I see of Superman are, like, the interesting point of him being more human than Kryptonian.
Yeah, it is what the encapsulation of a hero, of what we should strive to be, of what everything that a hero should be is encapsulated in character. And a lot of these characters we've mentioned, I feel, we might be on a little bit on a repeat, but like Wonder Woman or like Captain America, where it's like you are the gold standard, you are the hero that we. To quote The Dark Knight, it's like you may not be the hero we deserve, but the one we need.
It's like I'll try to talk about something a little bit different from the other characters since we're we're kind of repeating ourselves. But it's like Superman grew up knowing that he was different and that he was stronger. And once he learned to control his powers, he could have used that to do literally anything. He could have been,
Yeah.
and as we saw in Injustice,
We've seen
he could have
Injustice and
been
Red Sun.
the world's scariest dictator. But
Yeah.
instead, he became this
He could be
half humble
Homelander.
dude who acts clumsy and half hero that just stands as like a beacon for the entire world. And that's just like the noblest possible choice, and that's what I love about him.
That's why I think one of the key moments of Superman is when he renounces American citizenship. It is like no longer truth, justice, the American way. It is just truth and justice. Because it's like, I am no longer a symbol like Captain America for this land. I am the symbol for the world.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly this study thing, but there are more people on Earth who can recognize the symbol of Superman than can recognize the symbol of the Christian cross.
Whoa.
Exactly. That's how much that symbol of hope.
That's insane.
Exactly. The symbol, that S,
Yeah.
means, I know they play it up all the damn time. It's like, it's not an S, but
means hope.
it is a symbol of hope. It
Yeah.
is something that, like, it is one of those things that, like, when the earth implodes
Yeah.
and, like, the last of humanity is trailing off through the stars,
Yeah.
you better be damn sure there's going to be at least one Superman logo somewhere.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing, though. Even if that S did not mean hope and Kryptonian, even if it was just an S for Superman, it would still be a symbol for hope.
Because of what Superman is.
Exactly. And I think it makes sense that they did that. They didn't have to say, like, oh, yeah, it actually means hope, because it's very clearly English American S, like, but, you know.
And when humans land somewhere else and we've trailed off through the galaxy, Star Trek style,
Yeah.
Superman is going to become this. He is a character that will become an intergalaxy type story of this legend.
Yeah. It's like that's funny to me that, like, Superman is supposed to be from space.
Yeah.
But if aliens tried to study Earth, they'd be like, why do they think this is what aliens are like?
What? Get powers from the sun? What?
But again, like you said, like he would be one of the stories. Like if humankind had to pick 10
If
of
you
the
had
most
to
famous
pick
characters,
10 stories that would survive the destruction of man,
like Jesus would be on there.
you got Jesus,
Superman, Batman probably be on there too.
No, I would say just Superman. The Odyssey, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of stuff.
Star Wars might make it because of the amount of Star Wars fans.
There's an entire Library of Congress has an entire vault dedicated to preserving that kind of stuff.
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey
Sorry,
Mouse
I
is
just
on
thought
there.
of one.
I think, this is weird tangent, but did you see that Shrek just got inducted into the Library of Congress to be, like, preserved as, like, one of the greatest films of all time?
Shrek might actually make it too, because if we had to vote right now,
if you had the internet vote, if you had the internet vote for that time capsule that gets shot into space, it would be that and Bodie McBoatface.
I'm sad to say that Jesus might not make it if we had to vote right now, because there are a bunch
No
of Christians,
religious
but
figure.
The internet is just too apathetic. Like they would just put the stupidest stuff on there.
They would not put anything like with any actual kind of like cultural significance of like anyone's religion or like
Man might make it.
anyone's religion or like any like historical figure, like
Yeah.
no important in history of the globe.
Yeah.
Or anything. It would just be memes.
That is why we need a governing body, because you can't trust us.
I don't want Reddit deciding our laws.
GameStop would GameStop would become the government. I'm
Oh,
sorry, that was probably only funny at this point in time because of what happened recently.
yeah. I don't know when this people is coming out, but
Yeah. People could be like,
but remember
You made a reference
GameStop,
to
everyone?
GameStop?
Remember when that was happening?
remember when it was still a company and before they lost all the money that they got?
Oh man, we just make predictions about the future.
Hey, in like 5 months, GameStop is literally just gonna die. Like, they wasted all the money that the internet gave them, and they're dead now.
You remember when the U.S. still had a government?
Oh yeah, that ended like 2 months ago.
Yeah. Woo.
Wait, is it February? Oh no, wait. I didn't mean to say that.
It's currently
For
February.
anyone that voted for Biden, I'm sorry. That wasn't a political reference.
No, this won't come out for a bit. So there's a few months.
I'm not that sorry because it'd be kind of funny, but
This is a weird tangent where we're just trashing. Like,
just
what's
trashing
gonna happen in the
everything that
future?
happens and everything.
Remember when they were like when rain was still a thing and we didn't have this acid falling from the sky?
Remember when we were allowed to go outside? Oh wait, that was in 2020.
No, that was 2019.
Yeah, that was all the way back in like. Actually, 2020 was still. It was so unsure. Wait, how do we get off on this?
I
We
don't
haven't even
know.
made it past like top 3.
All right, moving on. My number 4.
Moving right along. Yes.
I mean, I guess you can technically say Superman made my list because my number 4 is the Sentry.
I knew it was gonna make it on your list.
Can I be completely honest?
Yes.
I completely forgot to put Sentry on my list until you brought it up earlier. And I was like, son of a bitch, Sentry has got to make my list.
I heard you kind of pause and think for a second when I called you, and I was like, I wonder if he's putting it on his list like right now.
I had to boot Martian Manhunter off my list
That's okay. That's why.
because I was like, I have to talk about this character. I can't believe I overlooked him.
I
For
thought
those of
because of how much you've told me about him.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Sentry, he is essentially Marvel's Superman, but he has multiple personality disorder and schizophrenia. So there are 3 personalities of Robert Reynolds. Robert Reynolds, the man, and then there's the Sentry, which is the superhero. He is the Superman, and then the Void, who is basically Injustice Superman. He is evil, like pure. He is darkness. He is destruction. He is awful. He is evil.
Yeah.
It's literally the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know. Sentry is one of those characters. He has one of my favorite parts about Sentry is his 2001 run, 2001, 2002. The first issue. It's just Robert Reynolds walking through his house, having a bit of a schizophrenic episode. And it's like Taxi Driver or like Joker, where you don't know what's real or not. It's like, does this guy, if you pick up that book and no knowledge of the Sentry prior, you'll be like, does this guy actually have powers, or is this all in his head? It's written in that manner. And I think it's portrayed in such a great way that it's one of my favorite books of all time. And of course, like we learned, he does actually have powers, and it's like he is an absurdly strong character.
Yeah.
And but it's if you took a character like Superman and gave him those mental flaws we were talking about with like Martian Manhunter, with like his fear of fire or whatever. It's when you deconstruct, like as much as we were talking about how important it is for characters to be have the hopeful characters, the heroes, it's just as important to have the characters who you would think are who are these symbols of hope and are heroes, but you break them down and they are just a man, or they are just a woman, or they are just a human.
Yeah.
And you break those characters down and they become relatable. They become something you can identify with. It's something that you almost respect even more out of what, and the Sentry is that. He is a character. It's like, is he going to be good? Is he going to be bad? And eventually you just feel bad for Robert, because it's like, you didn't ask for this. This isn't what you wanted.
Yeah.
But like, this is what you have to deal with. And the fact that he can deal with it, or the fact that like, it's always a battle. And I think it's a really good, for mental illness and stuff, I think it is a really good character to look at. I think it's a character for those people, characters with people who do struggle with that kind of stuff. What doesn't matter what disorder you may be suffering with. He is a character that you can look at and be like, at least he is always trying. At least he is always trying to keep the Void at bay, which I think that sentence alone is something that, I think it's something that can always give you can always, you in your personal life, can give you hope to always at least try to power through your void or whatever what your dark side is. And even the way that the void is portrayed even in that book, it's like he's the dark shadow who's always looming over you, like a depression or whatever.
Yeah.
And the sentry is that light hope like that thing you need to find to be able to fight the void.
It's really good to see a good and deep representation of somebody with schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder, because usually when you see, especially multiple personality disorder, because schizophrenia is a bit more serious, but you see representations of that, it's like a lot of times used as a comedic device or just a completely unrealistic representation of what it actually is. Like you think of something like Total Drama Island. One of the later series had a character with multiple personality disorder, and although I don't know if they got to the point where they were actually insensitive with it, it was definitely not a true representation of what it's like at all.
No, when you deal with something like mental illness, it's one of those things that's hard to do, but when they do it, when you've done it right, you've instantly created one of the best stories you possibly could.
Yeah.
Which is why I think people love movies like Fight Club or Joker or and as someone who I don't want to go into this, but as someone who does suffer with some mental issues, I'm aware of my issues. I'm aware of how to tackle that, and the Sentry is a character that I love because I think it gives me the slight hope every day to always try to at least power through, which is hard to do with like depression and stuff. Sometimes you just need that little inkling, that little light, then it will allow you to help you push through, and it will give you hope. It will allow you to power through. It will allow you to seek help or find what will help you, and I think that is what the core of that character should be or is. And if you suffer with that, I implore you to find help, whether it's with a therapist or a friend or someone. Just always talk to someone. Always find your Sentry to fight your void.
Yeah,
and I think that's what that is.
Yeah, that's a really, really good message.
All right, you're number 3 or 2? 2.
No. Yeah.
3.
Okay.
That was my 4.
You might be surprised this is my 3.
Honestly, Sentry should have been higher on my list. Looking at who I have left, I should have put Sentry at like number 2 or 1.
I think my 1 and 2 are very accurate to me, but then again, I think you're still going to be surprised at my number 3.
Number 3?
Do you think you could guess who it is? Someone that I have loved for a very, very
Oliver
long
Queen,
time.
the Green Arrow.
Yes, sir.
Green Arrow is very much in that same category of Star-Lord, where it's like, I'm going to fight crime, but I'm going to have a good time doing it.
Yeah. And I love that version. I love both. This is one of the ones that I don't just know from the TV show. I've had a lot of experience with the Green Arrow. I have comics with the Green Arrow. I have seen him in TV shows.
Yeah.
But of course, I watched all of Arrow.
Yeah.
So, like, seeing all the different incarnations of him, to me, it's always... And we talked about this when we talked about our favorite TV shows, but it's always great to see somebody who's been through something terrible and has been through multiple different journeys to get to where he finally is, which is just deciding to be the best he can be. Which is something that we can all take in our daily lives. Like, we're all going to go through these many, many journeys, obviously not crashing on an island. And
I feel like Green Arrow and Star-Lord are the greatest examples of just take it with stride.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing forward.
Yeah. And it's like using that because those 5 years, again, whether you're talking about the comics or whether you're talking about the TV show, were absolute hell for him. Like almost every second. There was very few moments of happiness, but with everything that he learned and everything that he went through, he used all of that badness, all of that trauma in everything, every good thing that he did for the people around him. And even though some of that came back, like, some of the villains were only villains because of him, sadly, like, he still used every fiber of his being and everything bad that happened to him to fight against that.
what I love about Oliver Queen is I love the idea of Robin Hood in the character of like steal from the rich, give to the needy, or even like you failed this city, like
Yeah.
putting giving a vengeance or giving a voice for being this thing of justice, but also not letting it consume you the way I think it consumed characters like Batman.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm almost glad that that's one thing that I don't know if we really get to saw with the original Green Arrow interpretations. I'm almost glad that in the series, for a long time, he was specifically targeting the rich.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he targeted the big villains, but like what he was doing on other nights, yeah, he was fighting the crime that was hurting people, but mostly he was fighting the stuff that reached almost everybody, which is the white collar crime and the corruption.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that I loved about the character, because it's really, when we see characters like the Flash or like Batman fighting regular thugs, it's usually people who something bad happened to them, or they're desperate, or they've been through some bad stuff. But these white collar criminals that the Arrow went after were all doing it out of greed and selfishness, and just I love seeing him fight that specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And then going even further into the Green Arrow, I love the trick arrows, and I love the
Trick
different
arrows
things
are
he's done
fun.
with it.
The boxing glove.
I think it's one of the most effective like gadget systems, because all of his gadgets are on the arrows, which he is very accurate with. He's got a grappling hook, thermite, nets. Like after
like Batman will open the trunk of the Batmobile as like all these crazy gadgets, but then Green Arrow's just got he's got the quiver of cool arrows, and like what's this one gonna do?
And like I loved, speaking of another arrow shooting character, Hawkeye's like quiver that he had, where he would stick the arrow in and press a button, and it would put the specific attachment on it.
Yep.
I know that Green Arrow doesn't have that. I saw someone make that in real life recently. It was awesome, but I just love the idea of just not having a whole utility belt where you got to look something, you got to have free hands.
Nope.
You just
grab
reach
it.
back, grab it, and shoot it. So that's that's one of my favorite parts about him, is just his morals and his gadgets
Mm-hmm.
together. And I love the color green. Always have.
I do attribute you to the color green.
I actually, I don't know why. I really appreciate that. Like I know that green doesn't specifically have any like.
I think it's because your
real
last name
life-
also starts with a G for some reason.
It's like if I was a superhero, I would either choose gold or green as the colors that I would use. I mean, obviously not together because that'd be gross.
Gold and green. Yeah, that's.
But like, I mean, now I have a lot of stuff because I like Green Lantern and Green Arrow, and I'm in
Mhm.
the army, so I have a lot of green stuff connected to me now. But I've always loved green, so it was meant to be.
All right. Are we on to my number 3?
Yes.
Okay. My number 3. I had to do it. I had to put at least one of the turtles on here.
Oh man.
Of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think I
I know
love.
which turtle it
Now
is.
here's the thing. I had to really look at myself for this one because I had to look at like what I love about each turtle. Of course, Donatello, he's got all the gadgets. He's really good at that. But like when you go deeper on the surface, there's not a ton with Donnie or Mikey.
Okay.
Mikey is a lot of he's a lot of fun, and he's definitely if you took the 4 turtles, I feel like that cartoon, those characters, that comic series, I think that show has shaped me as an adult, as a person, from the time I was a kid more than anything else. Because if you take each aspect of every Ninja Turtle, like their key attribute, and applied it to me, I feel like you would create me as a person. If you combine them, I feel like you would create me as a person. It's like...
I think I know which turtle you're going to say.
Leonardo's a great leader.
Okay.
I like Leonardo, but as a character, I have to give it to Raphael.
Yeah.
Raphael is the most interesting out of the turtles because he's the one that goes through the most anguish. He's the one that goes through the most development as a character, no matter what version of the turtles you're talking about. He's always the one who is the outsider of the turtle. He feels the anguish of having to live in the shadows, of being the ninja, of being this mutant who can't be in society. He's isolated from everyone else. He can't. And if you feel isolated, like I had for a period of my life, you do have to go through the emotions of that. And I think Raphael does that.
Yeah.
I think Raphael, as a character, goes through the most development of all the turtles, where it's like he has to struggle, which, like, based on the incarnations, the different turtles all struggle with different things. But Raphael is the one who's most consistent, because he always has to, like, and he lashes out. He lashes out in anger or with humor, or he hides with humor, or he lashes out in anger. But he when it comes down to it, he does love his brothers. He would do anything for them. He might get hot-headed and make the wrong decisions sometimes, but like he'll always improve after that. He'll always become more.
Yeah.
And as much as I do like Leonardo a lot, because he is the leader. He is the best martial artist of the group, or like he is a great leader for that team. But Raphael is the character that I think I can attach myself the most to, and I can be like, I relate to you. Me and you could, as a kid, I could look at Raphael and be like, we can grow together. Yeah. And I think that's when you can have a truly great characters, when you want this character to get better as much as you want to get better in your real life.
Yeah. And Leonardo has always been my favorite, but I knew that Raph would probably be yours, and it wasn't because, like, Leonardo isn't the person that I am. It's a person that I'd want to be. Mm-hmm. But not to talk about, your problems or anything, but I'd know, you talked to me about all the stuff you went through, and I know how you fought that. I
was isolated I was isolated and angry for a long time.
Yeah. So I could see.
And those are two things that I can relate with Raphael. The turtles are a group of characters, like, as dumb as it is for you chose these words in this order to parody Daredevil with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Threw some random words on a dice and just threw it.
But what they are is they have to be ninja. They have to be in the shadows. Yeah. The 1990s Ninja Turtle movie, which I put on my list as one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah. Splinter sums it up best. It's like, our domain is the shadow. Stray from it reluctantly, for when you do, you must strike hard and fall back.
Yeah.
That's what I think the core of the Turtles are. It's like, they don't get the luxury of being teenagers. Yeah. They don't get that luxury. But Raphael, I feel like, is the one who would want nothing more than to just be normal. Yeah. But at the same time, should he have to? Or should eventually Raphael does become one of these characters? He's always the angry or the sarcastic one. He's the most aggressive of the turtles. But eventually, I see him becoming a character who will eventually just accept himself. Yeah. He's always, he never gets to it, of course, because the turtles have just been around for so long, but he is on the path of acceptance.
Yeah.
Much like Beast. Eventually, he should get there, but it's a cartoon. It's hard for him to get there, but like, they're always being reimagined. But it's cool to see a character who's at least on that path.
Yeah.
All right, you're number 2 now.
Number 2. It was kind of hard for me, but I felt like I couldn't have replaced these. This is not just my favorite character because of what he stands for. This is my favorite power set of any hero. You know who it is?
Favorite power set of any hero.
I always say that this power
the Flash.
That he has, yes.
Yeah.
Super speed is the most useful superpower.
Yeah.
Nobody can convince me any different. Time travel. You can spin your arms in a circle and make tornadoes. You can phase through walls. You can super heal. The Flash is the most useful superhero.
This gets into my hate. Well, like, the same reason I don't like the Green Lanterns, I don't like the Flash. One, there's too many of them.
Yeah.
Second, I don't like power MacGuffins.
Yeah.
and the Flash is a big part of that. It's just like, I will invent something new with my speed, and I will use the Speed Force. I will use this ethereal force that I just can tap into and
Yeah.
use for shit.
And they even did that during Crisis, where
hate
he
it.
used
I
the
hate
Speed
it.
Force.
I hate the Speed Force.
Like, how is the whole universe, every universe, destroyed, but the Speed Force is still somehow around?
It's not
Same
like
thing with Purgatory. I didn't understand that, but
it's not like Goku where you can just where it's like you have to keep training and stuff. It's just like I can tap more into this force and run faster and but I do recognize that like the Flash is pretty cool. The powers are pretty cool.
And I'm not sure which Flash is my favorite. Obviously, I'm between the two main, Wally West and Barry Allen.
Well, that's the thing. It's like with our generation, especially, it's like Justice League Unlimited. We all fell in love with Wally West.
Yeah.
Barry Allen had been dead for about 20 years.
Yeah.
Barry Allen comes back, and then Barry Allen gets a TV show.
So it's like, it's really hard because, of course, like, I watched Arrow alongside the Flash.
Yeah, I've read recent Wally West, and they hate that character so much.
Okay, well, I'm going to say Barry Allen because he's the one that I know the best because, we got to see a lot of Justice League Unlimited, but we didn't get to see a lot of who he was as a person, more as just as a hero.
Yeah.
Where instead with the Flash series, we get to see Barry Allen. We get to see him a season before the show even started in Arrow.
Yeah.
And that was what made me interesting because I could tell by the way they introduced him that he was like a famous character. I didn't know who he was at first, but then like then of course they tell you who he is and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, okay.
If we go further into comics and stuff, it's like the history of the Flashes is something I actually really am intrigued by because like we had Jay Garrett, and
I really want Jay Garrick's helmet. Just as a side note.
Then we had Barry Allen. And DC was like, all right, so this is how this works. The Flash has always been a character to kind of differentiate and deal with dimensions and stuff.
Yeah.
Every story where you see Jay Garrett as the Flash is Earth 2. Every one where you see Barry Allen as the Flash is Earth 1. And that was the birth of the confusing-ass multiverse. Well, it had been around, but, like, that's when, like, you start to get the rules of it.
And they did this weird thing where they explained the multiverse one time where they were like, okay, there are like 39 Earths, but there's Earth, I guess there was 38 Earths, and then there's one more, which was Earth X. And I'm like, no, there are infinite Earths. So why did they only register 38? Which was, I don't know. This was all the series. It wasn't.
Yeah,
like
those were the
series
and stuff.
But
it's somehow more confusing in comic form.
Oh yeah, the comics just went on so long that they got all their wires twisted.
And like I do like some of the ideas the Flash proposes. Like I like the idea of the Black Racer, where it's like you need a death for speedsters because death can't keep up with speedsters.
Yeah.
Barry Allen literally ran into the Speed Force, was gone for 20 years, and they finally ran out of it.
Yeah.
And it was like, because he was literally outrunning death for 20 years. 20 years in our time, by the way. Not 20 years comic book time. 20 years from 1980 to 2000, or 1988 to 2008.
Yeah.
Everyone just thought he was dead. But it's like, no, he ran into the Speed Force. But I do like the idea. It's like, oh, he can really, literally outrun the forces of death. Like the Grim Reaper. So we need a death for speedsters.
Yeah. And of course, like I said, like that is my favorite. Like if I could pick one superpower, it'd be super speed because that's like a million superpowers.
Yeah, but I would also treat it like I would totally be born for Quicksilver type character with that.
But then you get into stuff like, because in the Flash, they
too.
never talk about how, like in the X-Men movie, Quicksilver puts his hand behind his neck and is like, so you don't get whiplash. The Flash, they never talk about that. and they explain everything away, like how the friction doesn't kill him and how flies don't
They
hit him in the
explain
face and
everything
rip
with
through
Speed
him.
Force
With
bullshit.
Speed Force,
With I
yes.
hate it. I hate that you have that device to
if
lean
I
on.
had super speed,
I think it
what
is
would
the
protect
pinnacle
me?
of lazy writing when you have something that you can just blame all of your shitty writing on.
So I would only have super speed if I had the Speed Force 2 or something to protect me from all those problems that come with super speed. But either way, I still love the Flash, and the reason that he's in my top 2 is because I've known him for longer than basically any other superhero. I got these 2 collectible cards, maybe from McDonald's when I was little, and I just fell in love with like reading the bios of the Flash and Batman over and over again, even before I remember like knowing who they were really. But we'll go to your number 2.
Number 2, speaking of Batman, my Batman is my number 2. Batman is your number 1.
My number 1.
Should we just go ahead and talk since I have one more after this?
Yeah, of course.
Batman he is vengeance, he is the knight, he is Batman.
Yeah.
Whereas all these other heroes, I feel like Batman has always been consumed by vengeance and by his never-ending crusade of crime.
Yeah.
Which is a flaw of the character. But you get it. Because it's like this character, he watched his family, his mother and father die in front of him at 9 years old. Of course he was going to end up messed up when he got older.
Yeah.
And he was this, but he still didn't become the Punisher.
Yeah.
I think I would hate Batman if it was just he goes around killing people.
Yeah.
But because Batman has those 3 rules, or just a few, not even just his one rule of don't kill anybody.
Yeah.
And then a few minor rules of like, we're not going to fucking waterboard somebody.
Or guns because they're the instrument.
No guns because they shot my parents. Those are the things that I think separates Batman from every other vigilante.
And that's one reason I like Batman more than, let's say, Iron Man or Captain America, because Iron Man, we see like that he's been a genius since he was like 5-6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Captain America, he got a super serum to make him peak human. Batman is peak human. Of course, he had the money, but he's peak human because he worked for years and years and years to become peak human.
Yeah, he worked to become Batman.
So that's why I love Batman so much, is because I have the most Batman media. I've played the Batman games. I've experienced so much Batman.
The
that,
Arkham,
like,
Batman's
I feel like
everywhere.
I know Batman. Like
the symbol of Batman, the symbol of Superman are one of the most recognizable things ever.
Yeah.
If you saw a bat signal in the sky, you would know immediately. It's like some shit's about to go down.
And technically, Batman, and this is another reason why I like him, is because I love the more realistic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I love like the stuff like super speed.
Mm-hmm.
Batman is even more realistic than Iron Man.
He's achievable for people is the thing, and we've seen like the hacksmith create like the grappling hook or like batarangs. He is a ninja essentially, but it is something that you can strive for because he is the peak of peak human.
Like Batman is the reason that I have a grappling hook and ninja stars and batarangs. Like,
exactly.
Of course, the batarangs are too weak to be thrown at stuff. I tested it, but
Batman is just one of those things where it's like everyone can kind of get into it some. It's like, at least in some way, but like also a core of his character is he's always prepared. He's great at being prepared for everything, whether it's, and sometimes it bites him in the ass with like Tower of Babel, where all of his plans for taking down his friends get leaked. It's like,
that's so sad.
But here's the thing: he owns up to it.
Yeah, he would not back down.
Look around you in this room. This room could single-handedly destroy the planet.
Yeah.
You, Clark, could single-handedly end this. You think I didn't have plans in place? He's so willing to fight he fights for justice, like the way, not necessarily truth the way Superman does, but he does justice through vengeance.
Yeah.
Which it does seem to consume him at times, but he doesn't let it drive him mad. It doesn't let him turn to like grabbing a gun. That's why the few times we do see Batman use a gun, it is a big deal. It or if it's like Batman Beyond. Batman used the gun, he quits being Batman. It's like, I can't because I've officially gone too far. And I see people argue all the time. It's like thinking the no killing rule is stupid and stuff, but it's not, because that's what his character is. It's what it should be. Yeah. He's going as far as he possibly can without losing himself.
Yeah. And this is something we didn't get to talk about with the other heroes though, but Batman also has my favorite rogues gallery, my favorite villains out of any hero.
He's probably got one of the best
and most recognizable, because
him and Spider-Man,
like characters like Joker, characters like Harley Quinn, characters like the Riddler, Killer Croc, whoever you want to say, have all had their own fan bases and their own like awesome backstories, and there's just so much to each and every one, and Batman is like the only one that can face every single one of those and win almost every time.
And like, what kid didn't want to be Batman?
Yeah.
You know? It's like,
what adult doesn't want to be Batman?
Exactly. It's like that stupid like Pinterest meme or whatever. It's just like, always be yourself. Unless you can be Batman, then definitely be Batman.
Or the other Pinterest meme, like, I'm not saying I'm Batman, but have you ever seen me and Batman in the same room?
Dude, there are two phrases I'll say whenever I'm like lifting something heavy or like trying to do something physically tasking. It's either by the power of Grayskull, I have the power, or it's I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman.
And you just and
exactly.
Like there's just so many like famous, like we could take a literal whole podcast discussing all the famous
coolest
and
moments of
things.
Batman.
Like you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? Like just all these random moments that just like will stay in pop culture history, hopefully for as long as we're alive. Like just because Batman is that iconic,
and he is for a reason. There's so many epic moments of Batman. It's like, and he always owns up to like the Tower of Babel thing, or like even his failures with like Jason, where it's like, this was my fault and I recognize that, but like I still gotta try to contain you.
Yeah. Or like when Jason tried to make him choose between him and Joker, like saying you have to kill one of us or I'm just gonna blow up this entire building. Like he literally, not only would he not choose,
option C,
he wouldn't even let the choice happen. He still was able to stop that because he's
peak, he's peak human, and then he's peak mind. He is peak everything. He is he finds the best case situation for everything and plans and makes sure that can happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like Batman so much.
Yeah.
Now, my number one, since Batman was your number one too, Batman was my number two. He was your number one. Yeah. My number one, I had to do it, Spider-Man.
Okay.
And Spider-Man was like number... He was low on your list. I was shocked.
He was, but it's only because I've seen a lot of Spider-Man stuff, but these other characters represent
more to you.
A little bit more to me, and he was pretty low. He's actually down at number 7.
Spider-Man, I think, encompasses everything about every hero I've previously talked about, whether it's flaws, whether it's hope, whether it's your struggles, whether it's the power set or the rogues gallery. Spider-Man, I think, is the hero. And if you look into Stan Lee when he was creating the character, he talked about, it's like, the reason Spider-Man's eyes move in his mask is because you are supposed to put yourself in the boots of Spider-Man.
Exactly.
You're supposed to be able to identify yourself as this character. Yeah. And that's what the great thing about like Spider-Verse and stuff, where it talked about, it's like, no, Spider-Man isn't just Peter Parker. Anyone can be Spider-Man. You can be Spider-Man. Yeah. And I think that's the core of that character. It's like, with great two things. That anyone can be Spider-Man as long as you're doing the right thing and you're using your power for good. And then with great power comes great responsibility.
And that is like one of the most famous lines referencing superheroes, like, in all of
it's
comic
up there
history.
With I am vengeance, I am the night.
Yeah.
You know? but Spider-Man's that one phrase encompasses the character. It's like he suffers the consequences of not using his powers when he could have.
Yeah.
It's the idea of like the trolley situation where it's like, do you act or not act, or my voice is giving out because we've been talking for so long. But Spider-Man is just that good of a character because it's like because he didn't act, because he let his own selfishness or his own spite get in the way, he lost his uncle.
Yeah.
And he's vowed never to let that happen again. He will always fight. He will always do the right thing. The way Captain America would, but because he has suffered what the consequences of what happens when he doesn't the same way Iron Man or Batman did. Yeah. He goes through his own moments of doubt, like Raphael or the Sentry, and he has moments of learning to accept that this is who he is now, like Beast or anything. Yeah. He's got the fun quips, like He-Man and Pepsi Man. Who else was on my list? Wolverine. He smells better than Wolverine.
I was just he's got the different incarnations that use his powers in different ways.
Like Wolverine.
Like Silk or,
Spider-Gwen. You want to talk about spider people? The Flash family ain't got shit on the Spider-Verse.
Oh my gosh. And I actually
Silk,
do.
Spider-Gwen, Penny Parker, Spider-Man Noir, Peter Porker, by the way, that was the movies that I just rounded up.
But seeing Peter
Miles
Porker
Morales
in the movie was a big deal for me because I've known about Peter Porker since I was a kid.
Yeah, Peter Porker.
I saw him in the comic shop, and I was like, what? It makes so much sense.
Miles Morales. There's one universe where Uncle Ben is a spider person.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
The Spider-Verse comic is with all that.
Yeah.
Bruce Banner is Spider-Man in one universe. It is a thing. Spider-Verse is crazy. Cosmic Spider-Man. And
I really want to see Spider-Hulk.
He's not the Hulk.
I know, but I really want to see Spider-Hulk.
Yeah. No, Bruce Banner just got bit by a spider. That's what happened.
Oh.
Spider-Man 2099. All of these. And if you want the perfect encapsulation of what Spider-Man is, of the fact that he is you. Spider-Man's whole thing is like he is anything you need him to be.
Yeah.
And this is what he means to me personally. But Spider-Man as a character is designed for you to relate to, and for you, he is designed to be whatever you need. And that's what I think makes him the greatest hero of all time.
And did me and you talk about who we think the best movie Spider-Man ever was?
Probably, because I have unpopular opinions about this.
Is it Tobey Maguire?
No. I think Andrew Garfield was the best Spider-Man.
No, okay, wait. I mean the best Peter Parker and Spider-Man together.
Oh, the best Peter Parker was probably...
I think Tobey Maguire on this.
Here's the thing. Spider-Verse, I think, did the best character of Spider-Man. You know what it is? No,
live action Spider-Man.
Neglect everything I just said. The best Peter Parker and Spider-Man is the PS4 game. That's the only incarnation of Spider-Man outside of the comics that got both of those things right.
Yeah. I love Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker because he's the nerdy guy and stuff like that.
I like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man though.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't like his Parker, but I like his Spider-Man.
And like you told me before, like they did shots in the movie based on comic panels.
Yeah.
Like I love that. But Tom Holland is, I think, pretty good for both. He's not the best Spider-Man or the best Peter Parker, but he's the best of both worlds to me in live action Spider-Man.
This is a podcast for another day, but I don't like Homecoming for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Far From Home is a lot better with it. Homecoming is just so fucking whiny. The entire movie.
Yeah.
He is so whiny.
Yeah. I actually like Far From Home better than I like Homecoming.
Yeah. Far From Home is definitely the best for that Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But like the point of Spider-Man is that it doesn't matter who he is.
Yeah.
What matters is that he is whatever you need him to be.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've made it through both of our lists. Do you have a few honorable mentions you want to throw in there?
Well, if you're going to put He-Man on the list, I want to add my honorable mention as Finn the Human.
than the human.
Because he's not a superhero, but he's a hero, and uh, you know, I don't know. He's like he's because he doesn't have any powers.
Yeah.
He's just a boy who literally loves helping people.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons. Like, that was the reason it was my favorite show, was because I just admired and I loved the craziness and the randomness, but I just loved the characters because of how much he loved helping people. That's one of the reasons that I am like Enneagram Type 2, is because I love like loving people and I love helping people. Because of that, I would say.
I had a few more X-Men in my honorable mentions. I had a
did Jean Grey make it
Storm.
on there?
No, I hate Jean. No one likes Jean. I don't like Cyclops. I don't like Jean.
Yeah.
Storm made it on there. It's another character like Martian Manhunter. Was like she has a clear fear, a psychological weakness with her claustrophobia and stuff, and I love that.
Yeah.
Plus her powers are dope.
Oh yeah, I love Storm's powers.
I almost put these two as one entry on my list, but I was like, if we ever do a top 10 like fictional couples or something, I have to throw them on here.
I was actually thinking about that.
Rogue and Gambit.
Oh, okay, cool.
Rogue and Gambit, I love their dynamic where it's like you can't really have like they have this obstacle in their relationship that they have to overcome with Rogue's power set and stuff. And of course, if you've read there's a Rogue Gambit miniseries that's really good where they address some of that stuff. And like
there's this weird book I read in middle school, and I'm like half remembering it, but I know it's a real book. It's called Rogue. I thought it was about the X-Men, so I read it, and it was about this girl who pictures herself as Rogue and wants someone to be her Gambit. And like,
what is this book?
It was like this middle school like kids novel about this girl who loves the X-Men and pictures herself as Rogue.
They are the most fictional comic book couple of all, or functional.
Yeah.
Comic book couple of all time.
Which is probably why, like, she wanted
they
someone to be her
have
best
to
friend
address
and
like
her
the
boyfriend.
trials and tribulations of being in a relationship, but like they have the extreme versions of that because of how their powers work.
Well, if we're saying that, I want to add one to mine. Ralph and Sue Dibney are one of my favorite comic book couples of all time. Just
I also had Martian Manhunter, Batgirl. Batgirl is another example of like she had an obstacle she had to overcome. I love it when a character has an obstacle they have to overcome, whether it's getting shot in the spine like Batgirl, or whether it's Storm and Martian Manhunter's psychological weaknesses. Those are always, or Raphael's isolation and anger. Anytime a character has a clear conflict and a clear thing that they have to overcome internally, as well as another thing they have to go against through in the outside world. Yeah. Especially when those two things will echo each other. That is when you get a great story.
I would say Black Canary would be one of my honorable mentions. Not specifically the version they had in Arrow, just in general, because Laurel was hit or miss in some of the later seasons when she actually became Black Canary.
Black Canary's origins are freaking confusing.
Oh yeah, no, the way that they had to bring in a new one from a different universe.
The body swapping,
I think the original one was from a different universe.
It's a thing.
But there's like
with
a whole bunch of
body swapping, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
Power-wise, I like Firestorm.
It's almost like the Psylocke situation.
Yeah,
where there's multiple people, and
but just like I like Firestorm's like the way he not. It's sort of like talking about like Wolverine has to get used to just like murdering people. I don't think there's a way you can really use Firestorm's powers, like his fire-based powers, without like severely.
Have you read Doomsday Clock?
I haven't actually.
They go into like when Firestorm loses control.
Yeah.
It goes bad.
Like what is his name? Deathstorm in the other universe.
Yeah.
But I like his like transmutation powers. I think that's really cool that they added that. Because that's just super interesting to me. Like he can turn things into jelly beans. What? I think that was actually a thing in Legends, but it's still pretty funny.
All right, I think it's time we wrap up.
Yep. I think it's cool.
What's the Superman? The da 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 da.